Hi, my name's Ethan, and today, I want to share a story that still hurts to tell. It's messy, it's painful, and honestly, it doesn't paint me in the best light. But I hope if you're still watching by the end, you'll understand why I did what I did, and how, sometimes, love doesn't look like the movies. My girlfriend, let's call her Lily, was the love of my life. We met in college. She was brilliant, soft-spoken, and had this fire in her eyes when she talked about literature, art, and helping people. She wanted to work in mental health. Because healing matters, she used to say. Funny how life would challenge her own healing more than anyone else's. Everything changed the summer I left for a work opportunity abroad. It was a short-term research fellowship, just 3 months.
Vi video kallet almost evernight.
Everything seemed fine, until one night, she didn't pick up.
And then another night.
And another. I started to get worried, until she finally messaged me. For words, I can't talk now. I thought maybe she was sick, or stressed. I had no idea. I came back to the States as soon as my fellowship ended. When I saw her, something in her eyes had changed. It was like the light had dimmed. She was quieter, distant. I didn't push too hard at first. I figured maybe she just needed time. But then, a week later, she sat me down and told me what had happened. She had been assaulted by someone she trusted.
A family friend.
I froze. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know how to hold her. My chest ached with a kind of helplessness I had never felt before. She had kept it to herself for weeks. She didn't go to the police. She said she couldn't bear the questions, the courtroom, the public shame. All she wanted was to forget it happened. And then, a few days later, she told me she was pregnant. I felt the ground fall out beneath me. Because I wasn't there when it happened, I knew the baby wasn't mine. And the moment she said it aloud, it hit her too. It was his. We talked about options. Abortion came up, quietly, tensely. She seemed unsure. I tried to be calm, supportive, but inside, I was panicking. I couldn't imagine raising that child. I couldn't imagine being a father to a constant reminder of what she had suffered, and what I wasn't there to stop. Then her mother got involved, and everything changed. Her mom is a devout Catholic, the kind who believes abortion is an unforgivable sin, no matter the circumstance. She called it God's test. She told Lily the child was innocent and that this was a chance to do something holy with her pain. And slowly, Lily started to believe her. She told me she wanted to keep the baby. Her voice trembled, like she was trying to convince herself as much as she was trying to convince me. And I broke. I told her the truth, that I couldn't do it, that I couldn't be in this with her, that I loved her, but I wasn't strong enough to raise that child, that it would crush me every single day. I gave her a choice, and to this day, I hate how it sounded.
If you keep the baby,
I can't stay. She looked at me like I had just slapped her, and maybe I did. That night, I packed my things and left. I cried in the car. I punched the steering wheel until my knuckles bled, but I didn't turn around. I thought I was doing what was right for both of us. I thought love had a limit. Days passed, then weeks. I thought that walking away would bring clarity or maybe even relief. But all I felt was this emptiness, like I had just watched a house I built with love burn down, and I was the one holding the match. I didn't hear from Lily.
Not a single text.
Not a call. Not even through mutual friends. Then, one night my phone rang. It was her. She didn't yell. She didn't blame me. She cried. Her voice shook as she told me everything that happened after I left. Her mother had doubled down, called her selfish, called her weak, accused her of bringing shame into the family. Lily, in her fragile state, was sleeping on a friend's couch, hiding from the pressure, hiding from her own guilt. She told me, between sobs, that she had scheduled an abortion. I'm doing it, Ethan, she said. I thought I could be strong, but I'm not, and I don't want to be punished for something I didn't choose. My throat closed up. She said it wasn't just about me or the baby anymore. It was about reclaiming herself. She wanted her life back, her peace, her future. I asked her if she was sure. She said no, but she was more sure than she'd ever been since it all happened. Then, she said something I'll never forget, you leaving. It hurt more than anything, but it made me realize what I was really doing this for. I was trying to be someone else's version of strong, not mine. That night, I couldn't sleep. All this time, I thought I had been the one betrayed, by circumstance, by fate. But maybe, I was just scared, not of the baby, not even of the pain, but of becoming someone I didn't recognize. A coward. The next morning, I called her, and for the first time in weeks, I said what I should have said the moment she told me the truth.
I'm sorry.
I'm here.
Warte verhappens.
I'm here now. We didn't get back together overnight. There was too much broken to pretend nothing happened. But we talked, we listened, and slowly we healed. Her mother, though, didn't take it well. She found out about the abortion and blamed me entirely. She said I had poisoned Lily's soul. And then, she did something that left me stunned. She called the police. Yes, really. She accused me of emotional abuse and coercion. Said I manipulated her daughter into terminating the pregnancy. The officers who showed up were professional, thankfully, but the humiliation of having to explain what really happened, how deeply personal and traumatic everything had been, left us both shaken. It was a violation on top of violation. After that, Lily finally confronted her mom. She told her how the guilt, the religious shame, the manipulation, had nearly destroyed her. She said she wasn't a vessel for punishment. She was a person, a survivor, a woman who deserved choice. Her mom told her she would burn in hell. That was the last time they spoke. And then came the procedure. I was with her that day, holding her hand in the waiting room, even when she didn't say a word. Afterwards, we went home in silence. She slept for hours. I stayed by her side. That was the moment something changed in me. I realized I would have raised that child. I really would have, if she had chosen to keep it. Not because I wanted to, but because I loved her more than anything. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled. It was small, fragile, but it was real. The days after the procedure were quiet, not in a cold or distant way, but in a healing way, like we were both just trying to breathe again. We spent a lot of time doing nothing, watching old sitcoms, eating takeout on the couch,
Holding hands wird tot talking.
letting silence be a comfort instead of a weight.
Lily started journaling again.
She used to love writing, back when we first met, but the trauma had stolen that from her. One morning, I woke up to find her scribbling by the window with a cup of tea. She looked peaceful for the first time in a long while. She showed me one of her entries a few days later. In it, she wrote, "I don't know who I am yet, but I'm no longer just what happened to me, and I'm not the woman who begged for someone else's approval to survive." It broke me, and it made me proud. Around that time, we decided to leave town for a few days, just to get away from everything. Her mother's phone calls, the apartment, the routine that now felt haunted. We went camping. It wasn't fancy, just a cheap tent, mismatched gear, and two people trying to feel human again. It rained the whole second day. We sat under a tarp, soaked, laughing at how miserable we were, but also how free we felt. There was a moment during that trip that stays with me. Lily was making coffee over the campfire. Her hair was a mess, her sweater too big, and she was humming a tune I didn't recognize. I watched her from a distance and thought, this is the woman I want to grow old with, even if she never wants kids, even if she never heals completely, even if I never feel whole again either. Because love isn't about fixing someone, it's about standing beside them in the storm, again and again, until they find their own sun. After the trip, we came back with new energy, still tired, still healing, but stronger. She started therapy. I started it too. We talked about everything, how I handled the pregnancy, why I left, the guilt, the shame, the silence. And little by little, we rebuilt trust. It was hard. There were nights she still woke up crying, and nights when I did too, but we didn't run anymore, not from each other. Then, one night, the phone rang again. It was her mother. She asked, point blank, if the abortion had happened. I told her the truth. Yes. And Lily is finally starting to heal. What followed was an explosion of anger. She said Lily had damned her soul, that I was the devil in disguise, and that we were living in sin. I didn't yell. I didn't defend. I simply said, your daughter is alive, and strong, and loved. If that feels like hell to you, maybe you never really knew her. Then I hung up. Lily cried when I told her what I said, not because she was sad, but because, for the first time, someone had stood up to her mother, for her. That night she whispered, "Thank you for staying." And for the first time since everything happened, I believed we were going to be okay. After that phone call with her mom, something shifted. Lily didn't cry anymore when her name came up. She didn't flinch when she saw old photos or church invitations tucked away in drawers. It was like she had closed a chapter, and this time for good. She told me one night, "I'm done letting people tell me who I should be. Especially people who only love the version of me that makes them comfortable." That sentence hit me like a wave, because for a while, I had been one of those people too. I used to think that being a man meant having all the answers, that it meant leading, protecting, fixing. And when Lily told me she wanted to keep the baby, I didn't see someone surviving trauma. I saw a problem I couldn't fix. So I ran. But what I've learned since then is that strength isn't control. It's presence. And love isn't a reward for making the right decision. It's a choice you make again and again, even when things are messy. Especially when things are messy. That month, we started reimagining our lives together. We talked about moving, about building a space where we weren't always on edge, waiting for the next blow. A fresh start, not to escape the past, but to honor how far we'd come. We didn't know where yet, but we knew it wouldn't include anyone who made Lily question her worth again. Then, one afternoon, she got a message. It was from someone she hadn't spoken to since high school, a woman named Marcy. She had heard about everything, through whispers and church gossip, but unlike the others, her message was kind. She wrote, "I'm sorry for everything you've been through. I always admired how brave you were, even back then. If you ever need to talk, I'm here." Lily showed me the message. Then she said, "Isn't it weird how sometimes kindness feels harder to believe than cruelty?" We talked for hours that night, not about the pain, but about what comes after it. Lily wrote back to Marcy, and what started as a small exchange turned into a new friendship. They talked every week, shared stories, laughed. It reminded me that healing isn't always about therapy or big dramatic breakthroughs. Sometimes, it's about someone simply saying, "I see you."
Jure not alone.
I too reached out to someone, my brother. We'd grown apart, especially after everything with Lily. He was always the settled one. Married, kids, stable job. I'd always felt like I didn't measure up, but I needed to talk to someone who knew me before all of this, someone who remembered who I used to be. To my surprise, he listened. He didn't judge. He told me, "You're not broken, Ethan. You're just human. You don't have to carry all this by yourself." That conversation helped more than I expected. Sometimes, the hardest part of grief isn't the pain, it's the isolation. But once you let people in, it starts to shift.
Not all at once.
But enough. One night, Lily turned to me in bed and whispered, "I still think about the baby sometimes." I held her hand and said, "Me too." And we didn't say anything else. We didn't have to.
We weren't pretending the baby never existed.
We weren't pretending the trauma didn't happen. We were learning how to carry it, together, how to live with it, instead of under it. Months passed, quietly, honestly, deliberately. We both got new jobs, nothing flashy but stable. We moved to a smaller town where nobody knew our names, where Lily could walk to the grocery store without running into someone who whispered behind her back. We painted the walls of our new apartment soft blue. We bought second-hand furniture and decorated with old photos and postcards from places we dreamed of visiting. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. There were still days when the weight of what we'd been through hit us like a wave. There were nights when one of us would wake up from a nightmare, or days when Lily would just sit on the couch, staring out the window, quiet and still. But we stopped trying to fix those moments. We just held space for them. One afternoon, we were walking through a park when Lily said something I'll never forget. "I'm not the same girl I was before. And I don't want to be." At first, I didn't understand. But then she explained, that girl thought love meant sacrificing herself. That staying quiet made her good. That forgiveness was automatic. Now, I know love is something I give to myself first. And I'm learning not to apologize for surviving. I just nodded, because I wasn't the same person either. The Ethan who once gave ultimatums. The one who thought his discomfort was more important than her pain. He's still here. But now, I see him. I recognize when he tries to speak, and I choose not to listen. I've learned that real strength is admitting when you were wrong, and choosing to grow instead of defend your mistakes. About a year after we moved, we adopted a dog, a rescue. His name is Bean. He's anxious, a little weird, but endlessly loving. Much like us, Bean became our soft place to land. He reminded us how to play again, how to laugh without thinking too much. And isn't that the wildest part of healing? That joy comes back, bit by bit, not in grand gestures, but in silly little moments. One rainy evening, Lily came home soaked from work. Bean ran to the door like always, and she just collapsed on the floor, laughing, hugging him. She looked up at me and said, This is the life I never thought I'd have. Not because it was glamorous, not because it was easy, but because it was hers, and she had fought like hell for it. We still don't talk much about that night, the assault, the pregnancy, the abortion, her mother, but we do talk about how we got through it, and how we're still here, together. If you're listening to this, and you're going through something that feels too heavy to carry, please know this: it's okay to fall apart. It's okay to leave. It's okay to come back. It's okay to break, heal, and break again. None of it makes you weak. It makes you real. Lily and I aren't perfect. We'll never be that couple in the movies. But every night, when we hold each other and whisper, I love you, we know exactly what those words mean. They mean, I saw you at your worst. You saw me at mine. And we stayed. Thank you for listening to our story. If it resonated with you in any way, leave a comment, or just sit with it. Sometimes, knowing someone else understands is enough. Until next time, take care of yourself and the people you love.